to us, to life, l'chaim. Well, that's for a wedding. Mazel tov. Whenever we do anything that results in validation about we're competent or we're good enough or we're talented, that may result in a big head, but it can also have the opposite effect, where when you get closer to your goals, you experience this growing sense of imposter syndrome. I went to the open house of the American Society of Cinematographers this past year, and I talked to the guest of honor, Russell Carpenter, who shot such celebrated films as Titanic, Avatar, and Charlie's Angels Full Throttle. And I asked him how it felt to, quote unquote, make it. Have a whole society tell you that you are great. And he curled his head into his chest like Flower the skunk from Bambi, acting all bashful, and he said, I still feel like an amateur rookie. And we both laughed. I get a real kick out of self-deprecating humor. But thinking back on that, when he said that he felt like a rookie, it was either false humility or the lurking imposter syndrome. And he was so genuine when he said it, it was like he was afraid that at any moment someone would find him out for being a fraud. I thought about the interaction, and afterwards I thought, that sounds a lot like me. I'm sure a lot of us can relate to that. So if someone as high caliber as the guy who shot Titanic, Avatar, and XXX, Return of Xander Cage, isn't even invincible from imposter syndrome, then who is? And so I want to talk about perfectionism and how it is the enemy. It's the villain, in fact. In a lot of stories, the villain and the hero start off as best friends, and that makes the inevitable betrayal all that more toxic and devastating and painful for the hero to battle against their best friend turned archenemy. And that's our relationship with perfectionism, except instead of having someone betray us, we are both the hero and the villain. Perfectionism is a form of self-hatred. It's directly in conflict with you being able to love yourself. I was at a spiritual retreat with some of my fellow household members, and one thing that was discussed at this retreat was loving yourself. It takes humility to love yourself. Self-hatred is often a result of pride. Pride because you love this image of yourself you fantasized about, and when you don't live up to it, you start to loathe yourself. And that loathing only gets deeper and deeper. It takes humility to love yourself because you're trusting in God that His will is done, not your will. There's a reason in the litany of humility, the very last petition we make to God is, Lord, make me holy, but only as holy as your will allows it. That suggests what holiness entails. Loving God and neighbor above all else, putting others' needs before ours, not worrying about how we rank in godliness. So perfectionism, bad. But we should still strive for something, right? We should always strive to be the best version of ourselves. Although that phrase has always frustrated me and caused me to feel like I would never live up to that potential. How would I know when I'm my best version of myself? Which version? Gabe 2.0? I'd wake up one day and look in the mirror. Morning, Gabe 3.0. I am the best version of yourself. The phrasing of it is confusing because it suggests that somewhere in an alternate universe or in the potential future, you are that perfect image that you strive for. And with that aim in mind, I have an obsession with that image of myself, and I want to grasp it. But really, what it means to strive to be the best version of yourself is not to obsess over being perfect in every way. That leads to becoming overwhelmed and thus not moving forward at all. To strive to be the best version of ourselves is to put our trust in God and love God, because only through that can you love yourself. It takes humility to love yourself. Perfectionism is equally detrimental because it can blind us to what is, because we're so laser focused on what could be. It can cause us to hold on so tightly to our desires and wants that we can't see anything. We are blind to the truth. Psychologist Jordan Peterson said in a lecture once that we're constantly contrasting what is with what could be, and naturally we strive for the potential of what could be. And he concludes that what you aim at determines what you see. What you aim at determines what you see. If you focus and aim at being successful, defining success by material things, you focus on the destination and are blind to the truth. Rather, if you aim at improving your faith life and moral values, you're aiming for the truth, and what you see will be more fulfilling as you approach your life and career goals. This is why he also concludes that if you're unhappy, it's easy to say, life is awful. but shifting your mindset could result in some action. Life doesn't have the problem, you do. Film director of Godzilla and Rogue One, a Star Wars story, Gareth Edwards, had a keynote speech talking to young filmmakers and talked about the arduous journey about becoming a filmmaker and how he envisioned the happiness he would feel when he got to the top. And after dozens of demoralizing and difficult hardships, he got to his destination and he looked back on where he'd come from and realized he would have done the whole thing over again. And so as Christians and believers, we have the advantage of knowing where we're headed, that we're meant for more than what the world promises us. And so because we know where our destination is, we know what our purpose is for. We know what we're destined for, so we might as well enjoy the journey. And so when we think about our careers and what we strive to achieve in our lives, we're often caught thinking that when we find success, that will make us happy. That in order to be happy, we have to be successful. But the great secret is that it's the other way around. We can only be successful if we're happy. Striving for happiness and aiming for truth. That's a life well lived. So graduating class of 2018, here's to a happy life. Because to journey happily may well be better than to arrive successfully. Thank you.